early on when I did CEO at the gas pump, I briefly talked about creating family enterprises. And so what I have today for you guys is a mother and son who has started a family business, JAMZ Enterprise. And I'm joined here today by Mrs. Joy Williams and her son, Malik Williams. What they represent is what it looks like when mindset shifts, education meets opportunity, and family business evolve. Okay, so let's just jump right into it. Mrs. Williams, could you tell us a little bit about yourself and the family business and how you got started?
Well, I am the CEO of JAMZ Enterprise. A little bit of background for me. I am a retired parole and probation agent. I did that for 27 years, served in the community with adults. Prior to that, I worked in a federal pre-release center as a vocational counselor, case manager. My degree was in sociology, criminal justice. So that's where I found myself serving mostly in that field. As far as jams, during COVID, my husband and I had talked about starting a transportation business to be able to take people to see their loved ones in prison. And I retired July the 1st, and he died July the 27th. So we didn't get an opportunity to see that come to pass. So as we walk through our grieving process, as we still are, I knew that my husband always wanted to do something with the family. We had a nonprofit serving teenagers at some point in time as well. And so as time went on and gave much thought to prayer, and that's how Jams came about in 2023. Yeah, that's how Jams came about. Basically, just making sure that we didn't let the things that we do die. And then I think, as you had mentioned previously, prior to us getting started, about the toy drive that we do, that was something that my husband had exposed us to early on when we would serve in Philadelphia. And we would see it on such a large scale. And we would always say, one day we're going to be able to set up the councilwoman did that she did in Philadelphia. And we would go up year after year and serve in that capacity. So that's a portion of what Jams does in the community. So I was decorating, found myself decorating. I do a little bit of comedy. I'm a clown. So it's like my husband would say, you need to put all of that under one umbrella, just one umbrella. Because he was like, this, you're doing that. So it's all under one umbrella in jams, as hence that's what brings the enterprise piece in. So
Absolutely. So, just so from my understanding, you're essentially what you have is a foundation that, no pun intended, brings joy.
absolutely. Yep, we got it.
Yes.
Hmm.
Could you tell me where did you get the name Jams from?
Yes, absolutely. So JAM stands for joy. The A is for Amir, which is my grandson. The M is for Malik, and the Z is for Zakia, which is our daughter, which is my daughter.
Okay, perfect. So the name is blended with the family.
Absolutely. And it kind of breaks the rule a little bit because the rule used to always be make sure people know what you do and your name, right? So it breaks the rule a little bit because with someone here, Jams Enterprise, hopefully they'll always associate it with us, although it's other jams, Charm City, this jams, that jam. But my prayer is that they will always associate jams with us because it really doesn't tell people what we do unless you know what we do, right? Which is usually the rule with naming your business. Shoe shine Larry, well, Larry shines shoes. So
Right. Absolutely. So, what essentially inspired you to start the business as a family in the first place?
I just felt like Malik was a born entrepreneur, right? My husband and I always talked about being entrepreneurs, although we didn't, that's not all we did. We took a traditional path and going to college and that type of thing. And I don't regret that. But the things that we were able to see in our children, they're entrepreneurs. And sometimes I think as a parent, you can see a skill in your child, but feel like you don't always see that it's a skill and a gift. Sometimes it just look like they just on a different path of rebellion. And it's not. It's just actually their gift that needs to be cultivated. So how can I assist with that gift being cultivated, right?
Hmm.
Because hence an entrepreneur, although it's not that you have a child that don't want to follow rules necessarily, it's more so that their mind takes them to a place of independent thinking, which can often be misconstrued as just disrespectful and rebellion, right? So it's
Mhm.
not until you get to that place of seeing that it's not disrespect, it's not rebellion, it's a gift that needs to be cultivated.
Absolutely. That's powerful. So you knew that your kids always had that entrepreneurial spirit, and your job as the mother was to essentially help them hone in on that skill.
Yes, while I was learning how to hone on it for myself, because again, I
Hmm.
was in so much tradition, right? You go to
Hmm.
college, you get your degree, you buy a home, da, 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 you know what I mean? So
Hmm.
entrepreneurship takes you out of, if I wasn't raised in an entrepreneurial family, so you have to be, I'm like the first generation of stepping out that box. Because
Hmm.
remember, you got a degree. You stay on that road. I don't care. All this is wonderful, but you have a degree. Even if you feel like you have gifts and talents that have not been cultivated, not no fault, no blame to my parents. They did the best they could with what they had. So while I'm trying to impart to my children, I'm still trying to take it on and learn it for myself, right?
Hmm.
So
Absolutely. What values have always been important to you when it comes to work, ownership, and legacy?
being honest with yourself and with others. And sometimes I don't necessarily know that I've always known it to be dishonesty when I wasn't willing to say to myself, I don't know how to do it. Well, that's being dishonest, right? So I'm still learning that it's okay to say I don't know that part and I'm not sure about that part. And it's very
Mhm.
humbling when you have strong-minded, intelligent children who will challenge you on the things that you don't know. And Malik will do that. And so will my daughter, right? He's like, Mom, you need to learn such and such. Well, have you thought about such and such? And I'm thinking, now we're no longer mother and son. We're partners and we're in business. And he's holding me accountable for things that I'm not willing to be honest with myself about. I don't know how to do that. And my pride won't let me tell him, I don't know how to do that. And I don't want to ask for help. Well, that's not being honest. That's not sticking to the values, right? So that's always been important to me, being integral in learning how to do these things the way that they should be done and being willing to step outside the box because entrepreneurship will take you outside the box and it takes you to a place of being uncomfortable. And I have to be willing to be uncomfortable with being uncomfortable, which
Mhm.
most of the time I'm not, right? But when you have partners that with their level of intelligence and exposure and experience, they're going to challenge that and staying on the road of this is not mother and son because Malik respects me in that regard as the mother, right? Highly. I give him all of that. But when it come down to him keeping me accountable on partnership, it's gotten very uncomfortable at times. Very uncomfortable.
Absolutely.
I hope I
Yeah,
answered.
no, that was perfect. Yes, ma'am, you did. And I was going to say what I learned from my mentor, Mr. Cotton, in that uncomfortability, in that darkness is where we experience the most growth at. And just to be open with you guys, when I first started doing this interview aspect of it, a CEO of the gas pump in my Patriot Report, that was something that was very uncomfortable for me because I dealt with not say dealt with, I'm an introvert naturally. I tend to shy away from being in the spotlight or being on camera, but Mr. Cotton just kept pushing me to do it, man. That's where the growth happens. So, and then to the point where now I'm comfortable being on camera and doing these interviews and having these conversations on live. So, big shout out to you, Mom, for building that foundation out, and big shout out to you, Malik, for pushing your mom to be better. Because at the end of the day, it's about building generational wealth for the family and for everybody to build off of, and for generations to come to build off of as well. So let's get to you, Malik. Before the GovCon curriculum, how did you see business and ownership?
Before the GovCon curriculum, and I just wanted to make a quick distinction for the audience. I know Redtwaun is aware, but in July, I took on religious annexation of my name. So now it hasn't been completely reflected on all documents, but moving forward, my name is Malik Williams, and it's a hyphen at the end, BEY. I'll end up getting it switched over on Teams so that way the people, the audience isn't confused. But before the GovCon curriculum, I looked at business at a lower level. I'm gonna be honest. I looked at it as not a lower level, but I looked at it from the perspective that I was, I guess, exposed to, if you will, or the perspective that I exposed myself to keep that accountability on me. So it allowed me to take a step back and reevaluate how I looked at business, not only from a government contracting standpoint, but now from a holistic standpoint. So I don't want to overrun the question.
No, no, that's perfect. So, what made you decide to enroll in the government contracting program at Morgan State?
What made me enroll in the government contracting program? Well, it was multifaceted, but I was contemplating on what was next, working two jobs while still learning the intricate details of what it means to be a business owner and what it means to run the business. And in the process of that, I came across a program offered through Morgan State, and it just so happened to be in the office out of the School of Morgan State School of Business, the Earl Graves Business School, where inside of the Earl Graves Business School you have the EDAC Center, which is the Entrepreneurial Development. Excuse me, the A forgets the A is escaping my memory right now, but EDAC, EDAC, and a part of that, the person who started the EDAC Center is Mr. Omar Muhammad, and it was my first brush up against, well, my first worldly brush up against through a program offered by Mr. Muhammad. Mr. Muhammad runs the EDAC Center in the business school at Morgan. So I came to Morgan to see what an initiative that he had going on that could benefit not only me, myself, but what could I go and learn? What could I come there and learn and then take it back to my family, take it back to my business, and help build it up in that regard. And what I came across was multiple different resources, but I waited about 3, 4 hours for Mr. Muhammad. He gave me a jewel before he left. On his way out the door, he said, "Yeah, and I'm leaving. You waited all this time. Well, we do got a government contracting class coming up." I said, "Oh yeah." I said, "Yeah, follow the website, follow the page. We got information coming out about it." I said, "Okay, this seems like something that we could do." We had a slight brush with procurement process dealing with city, public school, and the Judy Center. So once I realized, I started putting two and two together. I said, well, this could probably help us be able to position ourselves better to deal with the Baltimore City public schools, the local procurement process. I still was thinking with limitations. And it was through this course, through review, direct conversations with you, our meeting, conversations, and indirect conversation with Mr. Cotton, that I started to realize that I was only looking at it from a limited point of view. Like, that's great to be able to do local contracts, but what about state? What about federal? So it started to get my mind jogging and thinking like, I'm not thinking big enough. So let me take a step back while also taking a step forward because it was a little uncomfortable. I want to speak to that like Joyce said, like Mom said, my partner said, it was a little bit uncomfortable realizing that you didn't have as much knowledge, wisdom, and understanding about business that I thought I had. I knew I didn't know it all. That's for sure. Like the reason why I came down there and looking for those type of resources to help build up my business acumen. But it's a little bit different once you get into it and you start to realize, oh, hey, these folks over here, for example, that I was in the curriculum with, that I took the GovCon curriculum with, had businesses for 10, 20, 30 years. They were in their 50s, 60s, 70s. Mosley, she's a part of the UN. So these group of folks, they were doing business at different levels. Maybe not necessarily, there's a few that was doing government contracting, but who had already been doing business outside of contract. So it's a real life moment that let me in the essence of how different owners communicate with each other in a collaborative environment. So it was I want to drag the question, but yeah, it was a beautiful experience. That's how I got into it.
Absolutely. Yes,
May I
ma'am.
say something in the middle? Oh my gosh, it's so powerful. So I thought Malik would have mentioned that. So when Malik was probably 13, we sent him to entrepreneurial camp with Omar Muhammad.
Right.
He had a fit. I don't want to go to this. I don't want to do this camp. Why y'all sending me to this camp? Because most of the children that were going to the camp got paid. So Malik, he ain't have a problem going to the camp. He just had a problem that he didn't get paid.
Right. It was a part of the
But
summer youth works program here in Baltimore. So these children got paid at the end of this program, and our parents were paying for me to go.
but he
Pardon me
was
for interrupting.
13
Right.
participating, right?
Right.
Then listen to this part. The group, it was three of them in the group. They had to put together a business plan and they won. They put together a tour guide for Baltimore City for people when they came to Baltimore to be able to tour the different landmarks in Baltimore City, and they won.
He was throwing a fit, didn't want to go.
But look how Omar was instrumental 20 some years later, because he's Malik's wait. Omar had a meeting that night. He said, well, give me a minute. You got a meeting. So Malik waited. He gave him a minute. He gave him 4 hours and he waited. But his patience paid off because one thing led to the next thing. You know what I mean? So it's all
Mhm.
about purpose. 20 something years later, he said, I'm Malik. I went through your program. He said, little Malik, you just blew my mind. It's just, all right. Anyway, sorry.
No, no, that's perfect. No, that is definitely a good point to add into that conversation. Like you said, that was an instrumental role from him being 13 years old and going through that program to him again down the road, further down when he's an adult and saying, hey, man, I got another opportunity for you to learn something that's business wise. So you already excelled at something when you were 13. Now you applying more maturity, more experience, more knowledge into this. Is no reason why you shouldn't be. And that leads me to my next question. What was the moment that the light bulb went off for you doing this curriculum? And how did the experience you mentally or strategically, or did it you?
I always attribute it to like second, third week. Uh, I came in still like to feel it out and fit it into my narrow-minded point of view. When I say narrow-minded, like me myself, of course, I'm not calling myself narrow-minded, but as far as business is concerned, and trying to fit what this was and who you were and who Mr. Cotton were, and trying to fit y'all into this box of what I know a man to be, or what I know a business person to be, etc. Trying to fit y'all into this box. And then I did what Mr. Cotton always talks about, even consciously doing it. I started to allow instead of trying to force the understanding. The understanding is already there inside of each and every one of us, but it's a matter of what we try to throw on top of it, our own experiences versus just letting it get to come through. And once I started to do that, now I had some help. The help that I had was my study time from 30 minutes to 4 hours, taking my study time from 5 hours to 5.5, 6 hours. Now I'm waking up, I'm going to sleep in the laptop, and I'm waking up with the audio on because we record all of our meetings. So I get to hear back, I get to play back what you said, Mr. Cotton said, what the rest of our classmates said. I get to play back what I didn't say off camera, and using my voice as much as I should, speaking up, asking the questions that I needed to. So it's about round 3 that I realized, oh, this isn't just a jump on a meeting every once a week and to get off of that meeting for an hour and a half and then wait till the next 7 days to open the books. Yeah, this wasn't that type of. I started to catch on that I would need to devote actual time to this. Like I had to turn my phone on do not disturb, and of course allowing the people. Yeah, also I'm a volunteer at the same time. So I had already during the curriculum started, I had already committed to finishing out my season as a baseball coach. I coach 11 to 13-year-olds. So who I have personal connections with, and I didn't want to let them down. So now I'm trying to figure out how to incorporate my study time, not only knowing the information to be able to regurgitate it, but actually being able to retain the information and understanding the information. Now I gotta juggle that between, okay, I'm gonna be able to finish the season out, or am I like a little bit of uncertainty there, but ultimately, the other part of that question was to catch on. I started hearing the questions that I was asking week 1 and 2 and 3. I started hearing them in week 4, and I'm like, well, the first week, 2 weeks, that was me. And then somewhere around week 3, like I said, more study time, things started being revealed to me. Like, oh, this is what this is. Okay, venture affiliation exemption. Okay, oh, we got some different nuances that I heard talked about in the course, but nobody never really went and did the research and came back and said, as a group, as a collective, said, hey, this is what Mr. Cotton meant when he said this. This is what Mr. Hill meant when he said that. So I started separating in my mind, I started separating the people who were just showing up for the meetings versus the people who were actually studying in between. The people who were doing the hard work of reading through the FAR and reading through the federal acquisition rules or reading through the code of federal regulation, bringing that information back in a digestible way, because we're all kind of in the GovCon area. So we can communicate in a way that Mr. Cotton will be able to and recondense and then spit it back to us and let us know, well, yeah, you're on point, keep studying, or nah, that's not, you're going the wrong way. That was a big help too. I started to hear the same questions that I was asking that I no longer needed to ask. My questions became higher level questions. Now I need to have further understanding because I've studied so much. Not to say that, I'm a GovCon guru, but I studied just enough to be able to understand conversations or different concepts that then I could now deliver something back to you and say, hey, this is what I came up with. Can you let me know if I'm on the right track? Or what if I am on the right track, what can I do to mature this into something actionable?
Absolutely. Ms. Williams, how does it feel watching Malik step into something bigger than just a job or a class?
Amazing. Even watching him. So as he's speaking, I am, well, of course, you're just a proud parent and partner. And I remember your desire to do this and he was like, well, where are the people? Like, this is such a great opportunity. He just could not imagine that we didn't have thousands of people running to do this, right? So that's a person that's just really inspired and motivated and ready to get started. And I remember when he said, this is going to be a commitment, right? And I was like, it sounds like it, because he would share, because he was always so excited about it and just like, wow, I just can't believe that this is out here, right? And I get to be a part of it. The other thing I watched is when Malik, he had a life of doing things and he was trying to fit this early on into his life. I remember when I saw him say, I have to fit my life into this program
Right.
because this is now my priority. I'm to the point where it was almost like he escaped into some witness protection program. We was like, anybody seen Malik? Heard from Malik? We knew that he had to make up in his mind. I love y'all. I love this. I'm committed to this. I love all the family stuff. But right now, I'm going to close myself down because I rather risk not coaching now to give these children something later. I'd rather risk as much as he loved the family events, the we at the church and going to the dinner, he at the mosque, he done whatever. He said, I'm willing to risk losing that now for the bigger picture. And I saw that twist, right? I saw it. And I would say, Malik, how's class going? It's going pretty good, mine. You good? You know, check in. But I knew he was on a mission and he was focused. And I love that about him. Malik is an avid learner. I think he'll be 105 years old, still always reading, learning, listening, that kind of thing. He's an avid learner. And that shift happened. He had the opportunity to see first and foremost, this is going to be not just benefit me, not just benefit JAMZ. This is going to benefit generations to come in various communities all across this world, right? If I just take the time to shut down and focus now, right? It's what I saw. Yeah, it does my heart good. Sure does.
Yes, man, I love to hear that. Did it change the conversations you all have at home about business and legacy?
Oh, absolutely. It changed the conversation. You becomes the boss, right? He becomes the boss respectfully because I honor the fact that he learned stuff that I didn't know. So when he would try to bring it to me, sometimes with Malik and I, sometimes we can clash a little bit. But sometimes when he would bring it to me, I would have to remember this not a mother and son bringing it to me. Ma, I'm trying to teach you something. He wouldn't say those words and he wouldn't be disrespectful. But my pride sometimes will be in the way of Malik's deliverance. That's what it would come down to. Because his only thing is, I want you to hear what I'm saying so you can get it, so we can grow. Right. But if it's a day that my pride is in the way, I'm not hearing him. And sometimes I would say, Malik, I always say Malik is the intellect. Sometimes I gotta look up what he's saying, the words. I gotta go on Google while he's talking. I gotta look him up a little bit. I have to remember, heart is in the right place. But I have to sometimes move my pride aside. So yes, it definitely did change conversations, and he honors you all and Mr. Cotton and the work that you guys have done in this community and for the community at large. You love that about Malik. You will definitely give honor where honor is due, and change the conversation a lot. He's still teaching us, but you have to be teachable, right? And sometimes I'm not teachable. So I use this say, Malik, I need a minute, right? So we won't wind up bumping heads because then he feels like I'm not listening to him, right? And then he'll talk to our other partner and say, you're not listening. She's not listening, right? And then it'll come back to me. Yeah, I don't think you're listening. I'll be like, oh. So sometimes I have to come back and I might have to say, I apologize, right? And sometimes when Malik talks to me, it goes over my head. You need to breathe a little bit. Let me breathe a little bit. Let me come back and let me just listen. Sometimes I don't need to respond. He's just trying to get something to me that he's trying to get to me. And I don't want him to feel like I'm not listening, right? But basically, I know his heart is in the right place. Then I need to check myself, right?
Long story short, generational wealth, yes, it can be tangible, it can be money, it can be cars, it can be a trust fund, it can be all those things, but that generational wealth starts inside.
Because I've often said my grandmother was a prayer warrior, and I said, she didn't leave us any money, but my goodness, I can see that prayer life that she led and exposed me to at a very, very young age is very much a part of my inheritance. And I'd like to pass that on to my children, to be able to tap into a world that is not just the tangible one.